want to find that drive and focus that has you locked in and on fire every single day, my book, The Mirror of Motivation, will do it for you. I bought a copy for you. You take care of the shipping. The book is free. Click the link down there. I got you.
It
gets no better than tuning into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve, it's nowhere to be found. And on top of all this, you know what you get? The personal initiative to go get an energy, to go find that success, to go make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together. What you get is the mindset, the method, the philosophy, the book, the show known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Congratulate yourself on being here, because today we are going into volume 2 of Failure Leaves Clues. If you did not hear yesterday's episode, then I suggest you go back and listen to yesterday's episode so you can get the full explanation of why we are talking about this, and you can get the first 4 clues that failure leaves that we're laying out here, because there are literally hundreds of clues into failure in life. There are hundreds of things that you could notice that will create failure in life, but I've picked out specifically 8 specific traits that create failure. Yesterday I gave you the first 4. Today I'm going to give you the second 4. Now, since we all know that success leaves clues, you can often find the clues of failure just by looking to the opposites of some of those successes. So we are looking at some of those specifically here today and helping you understand what they are, why they are, how you can find them in yourself, and how you need to diagnose them in other people so as to avoid those people. Not because you're going to try to pull them up out of the hole that they've fallen in, because they're probably going to just pull you back down into that hole. Their negativity may be stronger than your positivity, and you may not want to test that out. All right, because once you fall into that hole, you might not be able to get back up. Okay, so today we're going to go into the next 4 clues that failure leaves. The topic, once again, Failure Leaves Clues, volume 2. Number 5. All right, we're going 5, 6, 7, 8 today. Number 5, a lack of integrity. What is integrity? Integrity is when your thoughts and your actions are in alignment. A lack of integrity is the misalignment of your thoughts and actions. So integrity is really, while other people can point out and talk about your integrity, integrity is really an internal thing. What I'm talking about, the context in which I'm talking about it here today, we're talking about your internal integrity. In other words, you are the one who knows whether you are in integrity or out of integrity. This is not something that will be easily pointed out by other people. And it's also not something that you can easily point out in others. And I'm not giving this one to you so you can point it out in other people or assess it in other people. This one is just for you, for the most part. And you could also you could swap out what you think with your words. What somebody says and what they actually do could be their integrity. I'm talking here for you, what you think and what you actually do. If you're going to apply it to other people, then swap out the thoughts, because we can't read other people's thoughts, and swap out with their words. What do you tell yourself? We're taking it back to ourselves here. That's what we do here. What do you tell yourself that you were going to do compared to what you actually did? That's your measure of integrity. Do you keep your promises to yourself? When you tell yourself that you're going to do something, do you actually do it? When you tell yourself that you're going to follow through on something, do you follow through? When you give your word to commit to something and you know nobody's going to call you out on it, but if you don't commit or you don't follow through on that commitment, do you follow through on that commitment anyway, knowing that nobody can make you follow through if you decide not to? Have you given your word to someone or on something and then not finish what you said you were going to finish? Is there some unfinished business out there in your life that you know, maybe other people don't know, maybe nobody else is talking about it, but you know you didn't follow through on that the way you were supposed to. You didn't complete that task the way it was supposed to be completed, and you know there's a gap there. There's some unfinished business out there for you, and where can you start closing some of those loops? Where do you have some integrity gaps? A lack of integrity is a clue towards your failure, because again, if your thoughts and your actions are not in alignment, then that means there's a conflict in your life. If you personally are in conflict, it's going to be really hard for you to reach success. It's going to be really hard for you to catch up to success. Success is not going to be attracted to you because you have all this conflict, this aura of conflict, this energy of conflict around you, because you're thinking one thing and doing another thing. Success is not attracted to that, or you're pushing the success away just by having that energy. You understand that? Do you let yourself off the hook when you don't keep your promises to yourself? Remember what we talked about in yesterday's episode. We all, being human, we will make mistakes. We will make bad choices. We will make bad decisions. We will start things and not complete them the way that we wanted to complete them, or maybe just not complete them at all for whatever reason. So I'm not telling you that you're going to be batting 1,000 on completing everything that you start or following through perfectly on everything that you begin. But when you know that you didn't do something the right way, do you take action to fix it? That's what integrity is really about. It's not about being perfect. It's about knowing when you're not perfect and doing something about it. Do you do that? That's a question that only you can answer for yourself. Only you truly know if and when you are out of integrity with yourself. John Wooden, legendary basketball coach of the University of California at Los Angeles, also known as UCLA, he would say to his players, because UCLA won all these championships, they were the most dominant team, they had the best players, he was the best coach, he was the man, this team was the team, they beat everybody. And John Wooden would say to his players before and after games, listen, the only way you're going to know we actually won this game tonight, I don't care if we win by 30, the only way each individual player in this locker room, that you will know that you won tonight is based on whether you gave your best possible effort. Only you can answer that question. So whether we won or not is not necessarily what it says on the scoreboard. Of course, we want to win on the scoreboard, but you as an individual, you are only a winner if you did everything that you could to help this team win. And if you didn't do that, I don't care what the score says, you didn't win. That's what integrity is about. And integrity, again, this is an internal thing, people. Integrity is about when you got to look yourself in the mirror. Nobody else is around. No one else is talking to you. The social media is turned off. It's not about individual. It's not about external scrutiny. This is about you personally. Did I do what I was supposed to do? And the only person who can answer that question is you. No matter what you show to the public, no matter what the world thinks of you, or your dog thinks of you, or your fans think of you, or your critics think of you, only you truly know when you are in integrity or completely out of integrity. And if you know personally, regardless of what anybody else says or thinks, if you know that you're out of integrity and you're not doing anything to fix it, you are on your way to failure. Actually, you're already in failure. Point number 6. Today's topic is Failure Leaves Clues, Volume 2. Underwhelming performance. Underwhelming performance is a clue that you're on your way to failure in that particular area. The saying used to be, they used to say this thing in order to impress someone who is consuming from you, to under-promise and over-deliver. Now it's changed. You know what it is now? It's over-promise and over-deliver. You used to be able to tell people, if you thought, let's just say you're selling a product and you think this product can help people be 50% faster or what they do, you tell them, all right, this product's gonna make you 25% faster. So then when it was 50% faster, it'd be like, oh, the person would be surprised. Like, oh, wow, it's even better than I thought it was going to be. You can't do that anymore. These days, you got to overpromise. If you're following the work on your game philosophy, you need to overpromise. In other words, if you know the product can help people be 50% faster, you sell them that it's going to be help them get 75% faster. And then when they buy the product, you make sure that that product helps them actually get to that 75%. How are you going to do that? That's your job to figure out. That's why you're the salesperson. That's why you're the professional. You must overpromise in order to get your foot in the door these days, because everybody can sell. Everybody can broadcast. Everybody has a megaphone. Everybody has their own media creation and publishing company these days. You got to sell yourself really hard just to get your foot in the door these days. Just to get a chance, you got to sell yourself really hard. Some of you may know this from personal experience. Then once you get in the door, you got to be even better than advertised. You can't be just as good as you advertise, because what I tell you a couple days ago, we as consumers, think about yourself. We don't buy things when we're getting an even exchange. I don't spend $1 if I'm thinking getting $1 worth of value. I spend $1 if I think I'm getting $10 worth of value. I need whatever I buy to give me an advantage of 10x versus what I had to give up. So you need to be even better than what you sold yourself as. You sell yourself for $25,000, you need to be worth $250,000. That's how it works. So you must overpromise to get yourself a chance, just to get people's attention. Then you got to over-deliver to keep people's attention. Therefore, this topic, underwhelming performance is leading to failure. If your performance is not making people wish that they could get more of whatever they're getting from you, you either need to step your game up or you need to find a new game to play. One or the other. I told you a couple days ago how When NBA players, they are underwhelming performers based on a certain statistics early in their careers, it's clear that they're going to become not that great. They will not become a very good player if they're not performing at a certain level early in their careers. Underwhelming performance from the beginning. If you underwhelm your performance from the beginning, you might not get a chance to have a career. Your career may not last very long. You may not get too many opportunities to figure things out and eventually hit your stride and do what you got to do. An NBA player that gets drafted in the first round has a 4 or 5 year contract off the gate. All right, so they got 4 or 5 years to figure things out one way or another. They're getting paid no matter what. So somebody's going to give them a chance. But if you don't have a 4 or 5 year contract, listen, you might have a 4 or 5 minute contract of somebody's attention. And if you can't deliver, if you can't overwhelm them in that 4 or 5 minutes, it's over. You listen to a show like this, you've never heard of me before, somebody referred you to me and you said, all right, I'm going to listen to a couple minutes, see what this dude is talking about. If I couldn't get your attention and get you to keep listening after the first 4 or 5 minutes, you turned it off and it's over. You're not never ever going to listen to the show ever again. That's the way it works. It's the same thing in life. When I was playing basketball, pro basketball overseas, listen, this happens to players all the time. You can get a job offer, fly. They will fly you from Texas, from wherever you're from in the United States, over to some country in Europe, and they will put you in practice. If you don't impress in the first practice, not a game, we're talking about practice. If you don't perform in that first practice, they will send you back home. Literally one day overseas, they will send you back home. You will get fired from that job before you even had the job. Why? Because your performance was underwhelming. Underwhelming performance is a precursor to failure. So you better damn well, as I talked about 2 days ago, we'll listen to the episode again and commit it to memory. You better damn well be ready to hit the ground running and perform in anything you do from the very beginning. If you are not doing so, you either need to step your game up or go find a new game to play. Maybe you're just in the wrong place. Point number 7. Today's topic, Failure Leaves Clues, Volume 2. Lack of energy to do the work. Energy is 85% of the job in life, people. If you don't have energy for what you're doing, there is no way you will become a success in it. It's impossible. Any success path that is worth walking in life will consist of some rough patches. There will come some times that things are not so easy. Everything is not working the way you want it to be working, but you got to keep going. If you don't have the energy to push yourself past, through, and over those rough patches, you will not win. It's impossible for you to win if you don't have the energy to do that. If you find yourself in this predicament early and often in whatever you're doing, not having that energy, not wanting to push through, not really wanting to fight through a challenge, not really wanting to meet a challenge head on, not really wanting to put in the extra work necessary or put in the extra time or get there early or stay late, anything that requires energy, you find yourself not really wanting to do those things to achieve the success in a particular area, you are probably in the wrong place. Doesn't mean you're a wrong person, you're just in the wrong place, because there's a place for everybody out here. Many of us sometimes try to fit ourselves into a place that we just don't belong. And we're not willing to admit that, often because of ego, sometimes because of ignorance, sometimes a combination of both. But if you find yourself in the wrong place, you got to get out of there. If you don't have the energy for it, you're in the wrong place. When I was playing baseball, before I started playing basketball, I came to a point that I realized, and luckily it was at a young age, that I did not have the mental energy. I just didn't want to do the work to get better. I wasn't that good at it, and I didn't really want to do the work to get better. So I said, you know what, maybe I need to find something else to do. I walked over to the basketball court, and the rest became history. In basketball, I had the energy. In basketball, I wasn't good either when I started out. I had a bunch of failures in that. Didn't even make my high school team until I was a senior. But all those years when it wasn't working, I had the energy to keep trying. I had the energy to keep fighting through. I had the energy to work through those rough patches, and I eventually became good at it. Now, it doesn't mean just because you're going through a bunch of rough patches and something that if you just keep trying that eventually you'll become great and maybe become a professional at it. Maybe you won't. All right? It requires you to be able to look at yourself honestly as possible. Self-distancing. I did a whole episode on that. It's in the game group. Self-distancing, and be able to look at yourself as objectively as possible. All right? You got to be smart enough to be able to do that and figure out if you're in the right place or you're in the wrong place. So sometimes it's just the wrong place. And again, it's never the wrong person, because every one of us, if you're born, if you're alive, you can hear me right now, there's some place out there for you. You just might not have found it yet. And if you don't have the energy to work through the rough patches and what you go through in life, the place that you're at right now ain't that place. You need to go find what it is, but it's not where you are right now. Point number 8. Today's topic, Failure Leaves Clues, Volume 2. No plans or strategies in place with which to create your stability. Now, this one happens in sports, business, and life, often with people who are highly talented or very lucky. I want you to listen closely to this last point right here, this eighth clue to failure. I'm gonna say who it happens to again, because this one may throw you for a little bit of a loop, and I know I'm gonna be referring to some people who are listening to this right now in certain circumstances of your life. You don't have plans or strategies in place with which to create stability because you are either highly talented at what you do or you have been very lucky at what you're doing. Allow me to explain. I heard an ex-NBA player talking once, this guy who had been drafted top 5 in the NBA draft, but his career did not last long. He did not become what people thought he would become coming out of college. He ended up being what they call in NBA draft a bust. And what he said, he told the story of how he had teammates, veteran teammates who had been in the league, who had been all-stars, people who kind of knew the ropes of the NBA, who would try to school him. They would try to tell him, yo, these are the things that you need to do. These are the disciplines that you need to follow. Listen to me. I've been through this. You need to take these steps. You need to make these changes. You need to stop doing these things. You need to start doing those things. And this ex-player said, look, I didn't really want to listen to those guys because I believed that I was just so talented. I was so big, so strong, so athletic that my talent would just win out over anything that they were telling me to do. And I ended up being wrong. Because he was so talented, he wasn't willing to put the plans and strategies in place to create stability. In other words, because he was so talented, he wasn't willing to enact discipline. He wasn't willing to introduce discipline into his life because he figured he was talented enough to overpower his lack of discipline. Notice how this 8th clue to failure and the very first clue to failure from yesterday's episode connect. He didn't have the discipline to put a strategy in place. He didn't think he needed it. 10 years ago, I started selling products online. And I was selling, and what I have come to realize that when I started selling products online 10 years ago, I started selling my own products online 10 years. I started selling products maybe 20 years ago, but 10 years ago, making my own stuff, I've come to realize that I was selling those products off of talent and timing and luck. That's what I was selling them off of. I had the talent to put the products together. I had a rough understanding of how to put words together in such a way to compel people to make purchases. I was making good products. I knew I had good stuff because my eventual customers have been asking me for it before I even offered it. And it was great timing because I had a whole bunch of people who were looking to buy stuff from me. As soon as I offered it, they started buying it. All of that was, I just got lucky. It was a good time. I had the talent to do it, and it happened to work out the way that it worked out. And luckily, years later, I started educating myself, became disciplined enough in business to start educating myself on what the hell I was doing because I really had no idea what I was doing back then. Only thing I was doing was creating products, putting them out, and selling them. That's what I was doing, collecting the money. That's all I was doing. There was no strategy. There was no plan. There was no real knowledge of what I was doing. It was working, but I didn't know why it was working. Any of you who's in business, especially entrepreneurs, maybe you have been through this, or maybe you know some people who are going through this, or maybe you know some people who need to hear what I just said. Some people go through these situations. They're not very talented and they're not lucky, and nothing works for them. I happen to be lucky enough that I was talented. The timing was right. I got lucky, so things were working for me for long enough for me to get to a point like, maybe I should get some knowledge and some plan and some strategy as to what the hell I'm doing so I can actually explain why this is working, so I can systemize the success. My success was not systemized. It just happened to be the right time for me. And I'm going to use that word again. I happened to get lucky there. But looking back now, I can see how lucky I was for the shit to have worked the way that it did, because I've educated myself and realized that back then I didn't know anything about business. I didn't know anything about selling. I didn't know anything about systemizing. I didn't know anything about putting a business together. I didn't really have a business back then because it wasn't a system in place. Nothing was in place. Something happened to me, all of that stuff would have went from where it was to zero in exactly one day. That's not a business. All right, that's a person selling stuff. And that's a different thing. But again, I got lucky, but now I'm smarter. I got disciplined and realized I was already disciplined, but I got disciplined in this particular area and realized, I can put plans in place. I can put strategies in place. There's knowledge out here that I need to actually have that I don't have. Let me go get that knowledge so that when this run of luck runs out, I can actually still continue to create some results. And it's the same thing that all of us need to do in life. Maybe you didn't start off getting lucky like I did. Maybe you're in a space in which you didn't have natural talents like I did in certain areas, and maybe you have. But understand, just because you have talent and just because you have gotten lucky, don't be fooled by the randomness. There's a book with that very title, Fooled by Randomness. This happens a lot of times to people. Scott Adams talked about this in his latest book. It's called Loser Think. And he talks about how people like to, as humans, we create stories. We are creatures of narrative. We like to attach a story to every single thing that happens. So this is what we do that messes us up. A stroke of luck happens to us. Some lucky thing happens to us that happens to coincide with something else that happened. All right, it correlates with something else that happened, and we mistakenly, because we like to create stories about things, we change that correlation to a causation. There's a difference between correlation means two things happen and they happen to happen at the same time or the same place, but they are completely unrelated. That's correlation. Correlation is I'm recording the Work on Your Game show right now and there's a warm sunny day in Miami. That's a correlation. All right. The sunny day in Miami did not cause me to record, and me recording did not cause the day to be sunny. All right. That's a correlation. Causation, especially mistaken causation, is a very dangerous thing, is when we start to believe that because thing A is happening, that's the reason why thing B is happening. That's like me saying every time I turn on the microphone and record an episode of Work on Your Game show is a bright sunny day in Miami. Therefore, every time I want it to be a bright sunny day in Miami, all I gotta do is turn my mic on and record. That is a false causation. Now, while that seems a very silly, ridiculous idea, we all do this in our minds many times and don't even notice that we're doing it. Correlation and causation. So when I started selling those products 10 years ago, my own products for the first time 10 years ago, and it was working and I was making money and everything was flowing smoothly, I mistakenly created a causation story in my mind. Like, damn, I'm just this amazing salesperson. This is just everything that I do is just going to work. I got the Midas touch when it comes to sales. I'm just so great at selling. What I realized once I got myself some more education is that I didn't really know anything. I had just been lucky. I just been a beneficiary of great timing. If you do not have a plan or a strategy in place to recreate your success, I have a whole episode on people who are real at what they do. They're able to repeat their successes, while people who are not, flashes in the pan, they can't recreate their successes. You don't have a plan or strategy in place to recreate any success which you have achieved so far in life, then you are on your way to failure, because at some point that luck is going to run out. At some point, your talent is going to take you as far as it can take you. And if you don't have a strategy or knowledge or information or any disciplines in place to continue to create the success will end. So ask yourself, in any area in your life right now in which you find yourself winning, what's the strategy that I'm enacting that is causing this to happen? Do you know what the strategy is? Is there a strategy? Could you explain the strategy? Could you recreate that strategy and apply it in something else that you're doing? If you cannot answer yes to all of those questions, you are on your way to failure as soon as that luck runs out. And you don't even know the luck could run out before you stop noticing that the luck has run out. And that's a very dangerous situation. That's when you're floating downstream and sleeping on your raft. You don't even realize that downstream is taking you to a waterfall. Right? And you wake up when you're a little bit too close to it to do anything about it. Don't let that be you. Let's recap today's topic, which is Failure Leaves Clues, Volume 2. We know that success leaves clues. Failure does as well. You just got to know what the clues are. Number 5, lack of integrity. When your thoughts and your behaviors are out of alignment. You are the only one who knows when your thoughts and behaviors are out of alignment. Only you knows when you're out of integrity. So you got to check yourself for this one. If you want to check other people, that's when their words and behaviors are out of alignment. But let's start and keep it. Let's start and end with checking ourselves. Point number 6, underwhelming performance. They used to say under promise and over deliver. Nowadays, you got to over promise and over deliver. You must sell yourself hard just to get a chance. Then you got to be better than advertised to keep your chance. If your performance is not making people wish they could get more of what you're doing, you either need to step your game up or find a new game. Number 7, lack of energy to do the work. Energy is 85% of the job. Any success path worth walking will consist of some rough patches. If you do not have the energy to push yourself through those rough patches, you are in the wrong place. Number 8, no plans or strategies in place with which to create stability. This happens in sports, business, or life when people are either very talented and they think their talent will just take them through everything, or they're very lucky. Things are just working for them. They don't even know why it's working, and they don't even realize that when that luck runs out, the bottom's going to fall out from under them. So look at what you're doing right now. Anything that is working for you and ask yourself, What are the strategies that are making this work? What are the plans that I have in place to make this work? Could I explain this to somebody else so they could do the same thing? Could I take these same strategies and apply them to something else? If you cannot answer yes to all of those questions, you are working off of luck and talent. And when they run out, you're going to have a problem. So check yourself and do something about it right now. Work on your game. Dre all day.